Congratulations, both you guys, on the film. Xavier, I'm going to start with you first. I'm going to get you to try and describe the film. Describe the death and life of Otto Bloom.
Well, starting with the hard questions, it's a story about a man who experiences time in reverse, but I think at its heart it's a very moving love story.
What is it about thematically, though? What's it about?
It's all the big themes: death, time, love, all those wonderful things.
Does the film have a take-home message, do you think? In a line?
I think probably to enjoy every moment.
Are you being deliberately circumspect?
Never deliberately.
Okay. You could have done presumably something a bigger project than this. I want to know how and why you partook in this little independent oddity of a film. I mean, what good does it do you? You've got this rising international profile as an actor. Why do this movie?
Well, because Cris Jones wrote a terrific script, and it's rare that you read a script that's as inventive and original and has as much pathos as the script that Cris wrote. And, the thing that I always want to be involved in work that is interesting and compelling and, pushes the envelope. And so those are all the adequate prerequisites, I think.
And what do you look for in a project before you do it? Because at the moment, as you're placed now, you look to be balancing local work with international work. And kudos, by the way, for your performance in Love and Friendship.
Thank you.
It's a very, very good performance. And you're obviously well established and getting a growing profile overseas. What is it that makes you decide to do a film? Are you deliberately balancing local work with international work, or is that just the way the opportunities are landing on your lap at the moment?
I think it's just the way that things have transpired. There's no grand plan, really. I think the only prerequisite is that that the work is compelling, and that's certainly the case in Death and Life of Otto Bloom. Okay.
Now, Cris, first question to you is an obvious one. When did you fall in love with Woody Allen's Zelig?
I've seen it once. I saw it when I was at film school. I got it out from a video store on VHS and watched it on a very small TV. I'm a huge fan of early and kind of mid-period Woody Allen, and when I was, obviously you're asking the question because there's certain similarities between the films. That's using the format of a biographical documentary to tell a fictional story. And I very purposely didn't watch Zelig again in any of the preparation, for making this film. I looked more at the work of Errol Morris and real documentarians, because Zelig is such a wonderful film, which obviously calls back to, Citizen Kane. And there is this thing you notice of over the decades, cinema kind of continuing to feed on itself. And so I was very much aware of the similarities, and therefore, yeah, I should really watch it again now. And
Cris, I asked it
absolutely,
respectfully, because art feeds, as you said, art feeds on itself, and artists are influenced by other artists.
Absolutely.
And Woody Allen was responsible for establishing the faux documentary form. As like a subgenre of comedy, especially. He started it out with Take the Money and Run, and then he did Husbands and Wives.
Absolutely.
And there are bits of his other films that are very documentary-like Sleeper. There are moments in there that look like a documentary.
And Zelig is very much a comedy. It's a very funny film. It also feels to me like probably one of his more personal films. I think there is a lot about his own identity and his own kind of, search for, cultural identity, and those are my favorite kind of films, ones that are about something and are also hugely entertaining.
Bring it back to your film, though. That's what we're here to talk
Yeah,
about.
all right.
What I mean, Xavier was quite succinct in his description of the film and its themes and its message. What do you think? I mean, what's the take home message?
Well, it's not intended to be, a didactic work or anything, but it's certainly exploring the ideas of love and loss, of life and death, and of course the thing that separates love from loss and life from death is this thing which is time. And I've just been always very interested in time as a subject because it is something that defines our little existence here in the universe, and yet we don't really think about it in terribly deep or complex terms. And it's something I think about a lot, and I was very much influenced by Albert Einstein's view that because time is just another dimension of the physical universe, then every moment is simultaneously real. And what I saw in that was kind of a consolation for loss. Mm-hmm. And that was something I found very helpful in my life. And I was looking for a story where I could share that philosophy, I suppose.
I sincerely hope that you didn't expect me not to comment on the shirt that you're wearing and the relevance of Kurt Vonnegut Jr. and his concept of time in Slaughterhouse 5. No. Obviously central to the big influence.
Yes, yeah? I wear my influences on my chest.
On your chest, so as you should.
Kurt Vonnegut was a very Slaughterhouse 5 in particular was a very formative book for me, and it uses this idea, this very Einsteinian view of time. There is a character who becomes unstuck in time, and there is indeed a chapter halfway through where he describes watching a war documentary, and time starts running in reverse. And whereas I love Kurt Vonnegut, I think he's both an existentialist and a humanist, and a wonderful writer. One thing that he perhaps isn't is a romantic, and so I think I wanted to see how we could take this idea and tell a love story. And as soon as you've got a character, you've decided to have a character who experiences time in reverse, remembering the future and having no knowledge of the past, the first thing that kind of pops into your head is, what is this person's relationships what are they going to be like? And pretty soon I realized there was the potential for what I think of as a kind of palindromic love story. And I wanted to tell that, but also, as you pointed out, the fact that around the midpoint the film goes off in a different direction, and it is kind of divided into 8 chapters, and I wanted each of those chapters for us to see a different side of Otto. He remains a fairly enigmatic character, and we are seeing him from the recollections and archive footage and dramatizations, largely from other people's point of view. So that was. But the love story runs through all of that, even though it dips into satire at some points. And
Xavier, one of the enjoyable things about the film is that the whole idea of making the most of time and enjoying time and making sure that the time that you have with other people, with people that you value, that you enrich it as much as you can, you enjoy it as much as you can. And you both know as much as anyone else how much time people today spend complaining about having not enough time, chasing time, where did the time go? Yep. Is it July already? Oh, it's nearly August. Where did the year go? Where did this go? Where did that go? Can you just both tell me what your approach is to time, to wasting time, to spending time?
Well, I mean,
if you're going to raise big issues in your film, you're going to get big issue questions.
I think I'm a notorious procrastinator, I think. So I don't know if I'm well equipped to answer the question. But,
that would make you perfectly equipped to answer the question tomorrow, but you have to do it now.
Exactly. I think whenever I got time off, I just sort of fall apart really. So I'm kind of happiest when I'm working, when I'm busy, and when the routine is kind of thrust upon me as opposed to something that I've got to do myself. So I think, but anytime you do have time off, it's always for me wanting to spend it with friends and family.
And Cris?
Well, for me, I mean, I think everyone notices as they get older that time does seem to start moving quicker, and there's a perception of time, that is, and that's something there's various theories as to why that is. One that I kind of subscribe to is that as you get older, you start getting into more of the same old routine. When you go on a holiday and you're in a new country for the first time, that first week seems to go for a month. And then the second week, once it becomes familiar, it seems to go very quickly indeed. And so, I mean, my solution to this problem of time is to probably try to have as many new experiences as regularly as possible, and slow it down for as much as I can. That said, it's amazing to think, like, just at this point, I mean, I'm still, the film is delivered, but I'm still very much working on it in the lead up to the MIF opening night. And it's amazing to think that it's been since last October, I haven't really had a weekend. And some of that has gone very fast and some of it has gone phenomenally slowly.
Did you have cast members coming up to you during the shoot going, man, I'm just not getting this. This is so complex.
No, it's surprisingly not. There was none of that. I mean, I was certainly challenged about some of the logic on several occasions, and and challenged in the most wonderful ways. I think Matilda Brown and Rachel Ward, who played the character of Ada at various points in her life, they both had very interesting questions, and I think particularly Xavier, because he was having to think just on a character logic way, where does this fit into my story, and at what point we're seeing the relationship one way, but at what point from a character's point of view, where am I now? And so it was wonderful to be challenged. It kept me on my toes, and there's a certain point you reach where your brain can start to melt, and that's normal, that's human. And at that point, we just, I think, go with the emotional honesty of a scene rather than overthink it.
Just quickly coming back to influences, I mean, Benjamin Button also was. Did it factor in at all?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I mean, it's interesting though. I think for people who haven't seen the film and might read a synopsis and they read that it's about someone who experiences time in reverse, there is a tendency, I think, to think, isn't that a bit Benjamin Button? But I mean, that was a film about a man who aged backwards, whereas this is someone, it's more his conscious experience of time is backwards, so he remembers the future but not the past. From our point of view, he ages perfectly normally. But Benjamin Button, rather than an annoyance, it's actually been a really useful point of differentiating and helping to explain the concept of the film. I think once people have seen the film, they'll see what a very different film it is. But at the same time, they're both love stories.
Xavier, I'm going to ask you a director question, which is, what life do you want this film to have? It's obviously not a mass market movie. What kind of life would you like to see it have?
Well, it's not something that I think about too much beyond, my job sort of really only happens in between action and cut. So it's an interesting question, but obviously you hope that the work that you're involved in, is seen and appreciated by as many people as possible. But I don't have much of a marketing brain, so I don't really think about those things that deeply. But
in this particular context, or is that a general view? I mean, I'm presuming that when you're in a film like Twilight, you have a different framework that you're thinking in.
Well, that's just sort of like a runaway train. It's like, it's almost the same. You can't really you don't have any control over that. Certainly not as an actor. So, yeah, it's a bizarre question for me, I suppose.
Okay, and what about Chris? What about you?
that's more the realm of the producers. Obviously, I hate to just reiterate what Xavier said. I obviously want the film to be seen by as many people as possible, and I hope that they enjoy it. We do live in a bit of a tough time for independent cinema. I certainly noticed it just about 5 years ago. I came back from overseas, and films, really high-profile independent films from high-profile directors that would normally screen at several art house cinemas would be on one screen in a major city. You do hope that it might break out. That's all you can hope for. I think it's, I think what the film has going for it is, it is quite an unusual story. I think it's got, it's certainly got a bit of imagination in there, and ultimately it does have this rather, it's a new twist on an old-fashioned romance. Okay. Where, the best love stories are always about lovers who are separated by some kind of obstacle, and it's often a geographical one. In this one, it happens to be time is the obstacle.
Can you tell me quickly about living in Byzantium? It was called?
Midnight. It was variously called Byzantium and Midnight in Byzantium, because this was a project which we were developing, myself and the producers, and Xavier was attached to be in that one. Unfortunately, we just couldn't get it over the line in the end. And it was following that I kind of locked myself away and wrote this one. Yeah. And this one it was written very quickly, it was financed very quickly, and it was shot and edited very quickly.
How quickly?
Well, let's see. We started pre-production in October last year, and we just delivered it, I suppose, a month ago.
Wow.
Yeah. I wrote the script in earnest in 6 months. I was hoping to do it in 6 weeks, but it's a challenging script to write, largely because it's told as this kind of biographical documentary made up of interviews, and it's often you don't get the flow of a scene because you're jumping around in time so much. And it's very difficult. It's like every line is the start of a new scene, so you're constantly going, well, where do I start?
Are you able to tell me how much this film cost to make?
I think I'm allowed to. I might get lynched on the way home, but it was 1.3 something million.
Very good. Congratulations.
Yeah. The something is classified.
Now, Xavier, just quickly as we wrap up, you were in a film called September, which is an absolutely beautiful film by Peter Carstairs, 2008, I think it was. Yep. Can you just give me a comment about the film? Because so few people know about this beautiful movie about the relationship between a white boy and a black boy.
Yeah.
And just how the relationship basically changes.
Well, it's set at a time where racial tensions haven't been resolved, and I suppose in a way it's quite pertinent in today's climate too. But it's really about a friendship that has, that is had strains put upon it by the context that the friendship takes place. So I was really proud to have been involved in that film, and I thought it's set in the 1950s and it was the first film that I had been involved in, so it was a good way to kick things off. And
what's Spin Out going to be like? Is it going to be good?
It's very different to The Death and Life of Otto Bloom, but it's always nice to mix things up. It's a fun comedy. It's a screwball romance.
Okay. Now, are you guys in a playful mood for the next 2 minutes? Because what I like to do with independent filmmakers is give them the challenge.
Oh, okay.
The Schembri challenge.
Oh, no, I should have looked this up.
Yeah, oh, man, I'm sorry. Here it comes. And this is where we test the resolve of independent filmmakers. Because the role play is this. I'm a big studio exec from America.
Oh, God.
Got a lot of money, a lot of pull from a major studio. I saw your little movie. Okay, this isn't going to be a multiplex hit, but I reckon I can really turn this over as a prestige film for our studio. and absolutely loved it. Terrific concepts. You know, what I'd like to do though, I mean, I'll give you whatever money you need, but I want you to make it a bit funnier, and I want you to recast the lead with someone who we've got a lot of tickets on. So we want to give you an actor and reshoot just those scenes with him. And whatever money you need, you know, you just give us the bill. We'll sign the check, and we'll make it happen. What do you reckon?
Not a chance. Not a chance. This was we were. I will just get in here. I mean, Xavier was very, very supportive of this project from the start. I mean, you pretty much attached yourself to it before there was even a script, and no, I would never do that. And who could be better? So
I'm going to give you money, and we're going to put you on the talk show circuit. We're going to make you stars. You know, we're going to make you a star. We're going to cut you out of the film. So it's a juicy offer.
Not a chance. Not a chance.
What if we backed Byzantium? What if we said, well, we'll make you whatever this Byzantium film is, we'll make that.
No.
Just in the line, what's Byzantium about?
Well, it's about time and life and death and love and loss. So I kind of feel that we've already made it now. So it's a very different film. It's kind of a zany mystery, absurdist. Well, how would you describe it?
I couldn't have said it better.